Again, I just want to say that I know there's a lot of racism in America, and I'm not saying that America is better than Japan or anything like that.
Back in a second.
I just want to get that out of the way. So at the high school I was teaching at, I did a little lesson on racism and discrimination. I showed the eye of the storm, which you can find in my video channel.
I mean, the blue-eyed people are the better people in this room. Oh, yes, they are.
I highly recommend watching it if you haven't already. After the video, I asked my students to raise their hands if they thought there was any racism or discrimination in Japan.
日本では人種差別あると思う人、手を挙げてください。
And in every class, only 2 or 3 students out of 40 raise their hands.
人種差別あると思う人、1人、2人。Okay. 少ないね。
After that, I asked them to raise their hands if they thought racism and discrimination were strictly an American problem. And without fail, in every class, 90% of the students raised their hands. I think there's a huge problem with that. My students learn about Martin Luther King Jr. and the civil rights movement in school and see on the news that America has a huge problem with racism and discrimination. But where are the school lessons and news stories about discrimination in Japan? Why don't my students think that there is racism and discrimination in Japan? Do I believe there's racism and discrimination in Japan? Of course I do. I'll give you some examples. A lot of people in Japan call disposable cameras baka-chon cameras. Baka means stupid or idiot, and chon is a derogatory term for Korean people. So the term baka-chon camera means a camera so easy to use that even an idiot or a Korean person can use it. But racism in Japan isn't just against Koreans and Chinese people. There is discrimination within the Japanese population. For example, there's a group called the Burakumin. In the Edo era, about 300 years ago, a caste system was put in place.
天皇が一番上で、その下が将軍、でその下が侍、で一番下にはブラック民なの。
And these are the people who were the butchers, the undertakers, and any worker associated with death. These people were heavily discriminated against 300 years ago, but they are still discriminated against today. Here's a recent example. In 2001, a very prominent politician named Hiromu Nonaka was thinking about becoming the next Prime Minister of Japan. But he decided not to because of his wife's family's reaction to finding out that he was Burakumin. I guess it caused his wife, who is not a Burakumin, a lot of trouble and suffering. Nowadays, it's harder to tell who is Burakumin by the way they look, but I've been told that Japanese people can tell by a person's last name and where they're from. And there's actually a hand sign for Burakumin, and it's this. This means that Burakumin are like 4-legged animals. Here's another example of discrimination in Japan. During World War II, which is only 67 years ago, Okinawans were not treated as equals by mainland Japanese. The intricate tunnel system used by the Japanese military during the Battle of Okinawa was dug by Okinawan slave labor. And when the American forces started attacking the tunnels, the Japanese soldiers pushed the Okinawans in front to use them as human shields. Of course you can say that was in the past, and there's no discrimination against Okinawans now. Wrong! A few years back, a good friend of mine from Okinawa tried to get an apartment in Tokyo and was denied by the landlord because he was Okinawan. The landlord's explanation? Okinawans are loud, drink too much, and have too many parties. And here's another example of discrimination that...
Well, they also, like, slaughtered an entire... what was it? I don't know if he talked about it, but they slaughtered an entire nation of people as well. The Ainu indigenous people in the Hokkaido area.
That's even crazier. Okinawans discriminate against other Okinawans who live on different islands. I once heard an older woman from the main island say that she would never allow her daughter to marry a man from Miyako Island because Miyako men are supposedly loud, drink too much, and are aggressive. It's crazy to me because I know plenty of Miyako men who are not like that.
Golden Kamuy, a manga and an anime, basically says indirectly that the Japanese did genocide against the Ainu in historic Ezo. Nowadays, Hokkaido, Kuril Islands, and Sakhalin. Golden Kamuy also indirectly tells us about how diverse Japan really is and that Japan is not a monolith, which is believed by most Japanese, possibly through indoctrination.
In the video, the Eye of the
That's wrong. I peacefully integrated them in Victoria 3. Okay, my bad.
Storm, one of the students said that he felt good when he was considered superior to the other students.
I felt like I was a king, like I ruled them brown eyes, like I was better than them.
No, I didn't miss the part where he, the underlying premise is that, like, ironically, Japanese also think that, like, racism is a uniquely American problem and does not exist in Japan, which is pretty funny to think about because Europeans also have a similar sentiment, a shared sentiment that, like, racism is a uniquely American problem and doesn't exist in Europe, which of course it does. In Europe especially, it's like kind of similar to American racism too.
Happy.
I think we're kind of like that little 4th grade student. It seems like we have this insecurity in us that wants to think that we're special or superior to other people. In its mild forms, our desire to put people down and make ourselves seem more superior comes out in ways like,
I don't like black people. They're annoying.
No,
they stink.
Some are nice.
They're ugly.
But in its more extreme forms, we get things like slavery.
Average Omegle experience.
And the Holocaust. This desire we have to be special or superior to other people is something that we have to be constantly aware of so that we don't make the mistakes that we have in the past. And this is the reason why I'm making a big deal out of my Japanese high school students not knowing the reality of the racism and discrimination that goes on in their own country. They may know that racism and discrimination goes on in America, but knowing that is not going to help Burakumin, Koreans, and Okinawans get treated equally.
This is a filthy, nasty word called discrimination. We're treating people a certain way because they are different from the rest of us. Is that fair?
Hey guys, I just had...
Anyway, sorry about the serious subject matter. I'd love to hear your comments and try to answer your questions. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
This is a perfect example of Omegle racism.
Huh?
I just want to let you know that that's very fucking cringe.
That's not one guy! He's not one! No! He's live streaming this! Oh my god! No! No! No, 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 no! I know you! I'm so good! Oh my god!
See you on TikTok.
No!
What? That can't be real. Bro, you have not seen how fucking racist people are, especially white people, on these like random cam websites, dude. Are you so got that shithole got banned? Yeah, except now it's like called Ome TV or whatever. It's not Omegle anymore. They just have a different name. They rebranded, didn't they? Omegle is a great website to use if you want to be called the hard R. Yeah. That was from 3 hours ago, bro. Trigger warning, Italianophobia. Albanian fans snap spaghetti in front of Italian fans ahead of the Italy-Albany. Italianophobia? Trigger warning, Italianophobia? No hard feelings. Oh, here. Oh! This snap this pasta! Oh, Maro! What the fuck is going on? Oh no! Oh, this racismo. Classic AO Eddie Beery bit mocking how French people act like racism was invented in America.
right now.